Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
It's not even that. And The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. Mm-hmm. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sunny, and was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to...
Prepare yourself for a thrilling adventure as Tyrus and Greg Gutfeld reveals Sunny Hostin's duplicity in a confrontation you won't want to miss. Without hesitation, they are pointing out blatant discrepancies and blatant double standards. Let's just say Sunny might not be happy when the truth is revealed. It looks like this will be a really strong one.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took...
All right. Let's get down to brass tacks as Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus get ready to teach Sunny Hostin a lesson in hypocrisy. I can assure you that you will not want to miss this class. The hosts of The View are the ones you're thinking of. They have strong ideas and a healthy dose of smugness. But their main worry is always who will be canceled next. Sunny is the center of attention today, and Tyrus and Gutfeld are prepared to roast her like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Nothing really comes to mind. I was like, cha-ching. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler, they call these things. America rejected them. And instead of coming back and saying, we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game ball to Sunny.
If you're a fan of The View, you've definitely seen Sunny Hostin poised and ready to impart her profound views on various topics, including politics and pop culture. But here's the twist. Her so-called moral high ground is weak at best, more like a flimsy house of cards that may fall with the least push. And who better to offer that push than Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus, who are more than eager to send it all crumbling down.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
First, let's speak about Greg Gutfeld, the person who's more sardonic than a teenager freshly skilled in irony. He's like a walking punchline with a razor-sharp edge, and there's no way he's letting Sunny's continuous moral preaching go unchallenged. With his metaphorical magnifying glass in hand, he's ready to reveal the kind of hypocrisy that shines as brightly as a neon sign. And the first thing on his list? Tearing into Sunny's favorite habit, pretending she's a moral compass of the entire nation.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sunny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election. But when oh no, nothing really comes to mind, I was like, cha-ching. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry,
There she is on The View, pointing fingers at everyone who dares to step out of line, shouting out mistakes like a kid who just learned the word hypocrisy and suddenly believes they're a grammar expert. It's hilarious, sure, but come on, Sunny. Greg Gutfeld isn't the kind to let that slip. He's the guy who says, Oh, you're mad about misinformation? Let's rewind and check what you've been saying. With his truth-seeking magnifying lens, he notices every little inconsistency she attempts to brush off. Sunny's notorious for calling out people for lies and misinformation, unless, of course, it's about something she loves. Then suddenly it's just the truth or sharing facts. But Greg has the receipts, and he's not afraid to display them. What makes it sting even more? He doesn't just make a point. He makes sure you feel it. Sarcasm is his preferred weapon, and the sharper is, the deeper it cuts. Just look at her fury about so-called elitism in politics. She shouts about politicians living great while the country struggles, waving her finger like a teacher scolding the class, demanding accountability. Yet she seems ignorant to her own double standard.
Woman on my show, or man, that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs, that doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racist on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, Emily.
But hold on. Here's where it starts to become amusing. Sunny's part of her own elite club, a billionaire TV personality using her platform to talk down to everyone else at Gutfeld's absolutely going to point out how absurd it is to lecture people about wealth and equality while sitting in a comfortable chair, teaching the rest of us how to live. Sure, he might be in a luxury chair too, but at least he understands the difference between lecturing from an ivory tower and truly keeping grounded. And it doesn't end there, because Gutfeld has a genuine flair for going deeper. Sunny's hypocrisy? It's like peeling an onion. Strip away one layer of contradiction, and there's always another one waiting. Remember when she got all heated up about cancel culture? Of course, she was, for a while, it was her favorite thing, standing up on her soapbox, warning about how cancel culture was killing society. But then came the twist. She joined right in, using her own platform to advocate for the cancellation of everybody she disagreed with. It's almost like Sunny missed the idea entirely. Cancel culture doesn't work until you're prepared to apply it to everyone, not just individuals you don't like.
Of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
But you can't just pick and choose when to utilize it, can you? Gutfeld's already had all this lined up, and you can practically see the sneer on his face as he takes it all in. He's definitely enjoying himself, and that's exactly why he's calling it out. If anyone's going to spotlight the hypocrisy of the Views cast, it's going to be him, and he's absolutely not doing it with kind words. He's loaded with stinging jabs, and he's aiming straight. He might even say, funny, I don't remember The View having a segment called, "We Cancel People for Thinking Differently." But here we are, and Greg's just getting started. Now it's time to bring in a heavy hitter. Tyrus. If Gutfeld is a caustic jester, then Tyrus is the blunt force truth bomb. He doesn't sugarcoat a thing. If something sounds stupid, he calls it out. His remarks fall like a sledgehammer, not a whisper. And when he turns his focus to Sunny, he's not pulling any punches. His opening shot, pointing out the absurdity of Sunny presenting herself as a voice for the voiceless, while comfortably sitting at the top of the privilege ladder. You know the type. Wealthy, renowned, high-profile media figure trying to lecture others about inequity.
So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
But here's the catch. Tyrus recognizes it for exactly what it is. Performative activism. It's like witnessing someone at a charity dinner lament about life's hardships while sipping champagne and going off with a $500 gift bag. Tyrus doesn't spend time on fluff. He cuts directly to the heart of things. Sunny's so-called woke stance? Just that, an act. It's easy to speak up for the underdog when you're already sitting comfortably at the top. And of course, there's Tyrus's signature bluntness. He's the kind of man who'd look right at Sunny and say, "You want to talk about inequality? Let's start with the reality that you spend your days asking people to rise up while you live like royalty. No filter, no soft edges, just raw reality that makes you doubt everything you thought about the self-proclaimed awakened elite." You can just hear him remark, If you really believe in equality, how about treating everyone the same? Of course. That only works if it doesn't clash with your image. And now things are heating up, because Gutfeld and Tyrus are going to team up a deadly combo of sarcasm and harsh honesty. They've been constructing their case, and now they're poised to unleash the knockout punch.
That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
Gutfeld's doing what he does best, taking every contradiction and inflating it like a balloon until it's impossible to ignore point one moment. Sunny's a self-declared moral authority, the guardian of truth, and the next, she's twisting that truth to fit her own narrative. And right beside him, Tyrus is ready to deliver the gut punch. Sunny, you don't get to sit on your high horse while everyone else is left trying to untangle your contradictions. If equality is truly your goal, maybe start with a little consistency. Your so-called woke persona is as clear and hollow as a glass panel you sit behind on a View, in a perfect pairing. Sarcasm meets blunt honesty, and together they strip away the illusion, exposing Sunny for what she really is, a hypocrite with a microphone by the time they're done. It's obvious that Sunny Hostin's moral high ground has collapsed beneath the weight of her own double standards. And in the end, what's left? Just a woman who tried to cancel everyone else while ignoring her own role in the very culture she claims to condemn. And so what's the takeaway? If you're going to lecture the world on morality, maybe start by following your own advice and stop pretending you're above it all, when the only thing holding you up is a shaky hill of hypocrisy.